So, exciting news, Ilford's first new film since the 1970s. That is of course their orthochromatic film. For those of you that don't know, orthochromatic literally just means that it doesn't pick up red as much. This means that you could actually process it with the red light on in the darkroom, but also for actually taking the picture. You'll see in a couple of these pictures that I'm about to show you, anything that really is bright red will basically just turn black. So it's different to most other films for that reason, and it kind of shows tones that you wouldn't normally see in other black and white films, or actually with your own eyes. Not that you see in black and white, but it essentially translates the colours a different way to most other films. And as you're about to see, the results are pretty varied actually. These medium format shots were shot at 80 ISO, like the packet says you should, but I've also done some 35mm ones, which we'll see just afterwards, which I actually prefer, which I wouldn't normally say. It's quite surprising. I shot those at 64 ISO, and yes, they were processed accordingly in the lab. I let them know, and they told me that they processed it accordingly. So, as it happens, I actually stumbled upon this bridge. I have been here before, but I was just going for a drive, just a random drive, and I happened to stumble across it, which I was not expecting at all. It's painted bright red. It's also designed by the same person that designed the Eiffel Tower. Anyway, back to my original point. It's painted bright red. This film doesn't detect red, so as you can see, it came out pretty dark, which is quite nice. It gives quite a nice contrast, a really deep black in an otherwise fairly flat image.
Yeah, these aren't going to be outstanding because the sun is literally right behind it. I carried on driving down the hill and got underneath the bridge, and the view from here is just incredible.
I took this picture as my dedicated shot for latitude. As you can see, the shadows of the tree are still present, and the highlights aren't actually blown where the sun's shining directly on my silver car, so I think it's held up pretty well. This film really works well when there's plenty of bright sunlight. It does really well with the highlights there, I think. It's exceptionally good at buildings when they've got sunlight shining on them. It doesn't perform particularly well on overcast days, or if the lighting's generally quite flat. It doesn't really bring out its best in that. Obviously it's designed for landscape. I did find that taking pictures of cliff edges and woodland, it did really well like that. It just suddenly brings out this extra contrast and this kind of extra luminosity that it doesn't have when you're shooting something quite kind of flat and kind of empty, like the fields that you saw there didn't come out very well. But anything that has lots of texture to it really comes out well with this film, I find. These scans were really awful. I did them with my digital camera because I've got no other way of doing it. I recently lost access to the scanners that I was using to scan film while I was at uni. One thing you take for granted when you leave uni is the resources you had there. So now I don't have a scanner. I can pay the lab to scan my stuff, but they charge so much, it's unreal. So I got a pack of prints done. I use my digital camera to scan the film. It's a painstakingly long process, and it's actually not. It doesn't come out. It doesn't come out well. It just kind of, if you're lucky, it comes out as good as the digital camera would take a black and white picture. But then there was no point in you shooting the film anyway. Anyway, the point I'm trying to say is, the prints are actually really nice. They have not translated well into scans. So what I'm going to do, because I think this film actually deserves more than this video, I'm going to eventually get around to scanning them professionally, and then I'm going to make some fine art prints from them, from a couple of the pictures that I've shown here. And I'm going to make a separate video on that, because I think it deserves it. I think looking at the prints, the small prints I got that you won't be able to tell from the video, this film has a lot of printing potential. So I'm definitely going to get some of those prints enlarged onto fine art paper, and I shall show you the results. Anyway, that's it from me today. If you're at all interested, I sell prints on my website. I've got a little store page going on there. I do currently only post to UK and Europe. That's because I need to get round to sorting out postage prices to everywhere else. Otherwise, I am on social media. Instagram is probably the best place to follow me on. That is JBF Landscape. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Well done for making it right to the end of the video, and hopefully I'll see you next time.